the deal. We need a musical intro.
Got just the one. I think you can sing along with me, okay?
Okay.
Alright. 3, 2, 1, go. Back in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV show. Come on, you know this one. Ding, ding, ding. I'm Bojack the horse. I'm Bojack the horse. Don't act like you don't know. Ding, 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 ding. You know this part?
I don't remember.
And I'm trying to hold on to my past. It's been so long, I don't think I'm gonna last. I guess I'll just try to make you understand that I'm more horse than a man. No, wait. I'm more man than a horse.
That was a weak performance by me because I forgot like half the lyrics.
Fun time.
Welcome, everyone.
To the Bojack and Horseman show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Anthony and Todd show. I'm your horse, Vinny Vincent. I'm your host, Vinny Vincent, a.k.a. What the fuck is a syrup sandwich and how do I eat it? A.k.a. that time Outcast played at the Kids' Choice Awards.
That was a golden moment.
A.k.a. I have an idea for a Jurassic Park-like amusement park, but instead of dinosaurs, it's dead professional wrestlers. And I'm joined today by my ever-attentive co-host, my best friend, Trevor, a.k.a. XXX Temptation. No, wait.
Temptation.
No, it's XXX Temptation. No, wait. How does he say? He says Tentacion. It's XXX Temptation. A.k.a. the water bottle you left in your car and it's super warm, but you drink it anyways because you're super thirsty. A.k.a. Godspeed, you dank emperor. A.k.a. Family Matters theme song, trap remix. Okay, can we please get a second season of Class of 3000?
Class of 3000 is such a good show.
Dude, just like...
And I think it had 2 seasons.
No, it only had 1, I think.
2.
Did it?
There was only a soundtrack release for the first season.
What's the soundtrack?
The Class of 3000 soundtrack.
Okay, who would guest star on Class of 3000 nowadays?
Okay, so I don't think they had any guest stars last time.
No, who would? It's 2017. We can of course make guest stars on Class of 3000.
I think Andre 3000 deserves to keep his spot as Sonny Bridges, or else it would have to be called Class of Yo Gotti.
No, I was thinking. I was thinking Run the Jewels show up.
I think Run the Jewels would be good. I think they could be kid friendly.
Yeah. I think
Biz Markie
definitely. Big Boy.
Oh yeah, Big Boy should be a rival music school teacher.
Why wasn't that put in the original series?
Dude, I don't know. I think they were still feuding back then.
Who else would be good? Donald Glover. That's easy.
Madlib.
MF Doom.
I wish Doom could do it. That would be awesome.
Who else? DJ Jazzy Jeff. Where are some other classics?
I'm trying to think of people that would actually be good on the show.
Open Mike Eagle.
Open Mike Eagle would be good, yeah. I'm thinking of people that might have appeared on Sesame Street or something.
I'm thinking actors that...
I think Lin-Manuel could be on there pretty
yeah,
easily.
I'm trying to just think of actors who are also rappers. So Open Mike, Gambino.
Chevy Chase.
That's my favorite rapper. Action Bronson. Danny Brown.
Danny Brown might be able to do it.
Action Bronson and Danny Brown both on Lucas Brothers, so that can happen.
Yeah, but the Class of 3000's for kids.
It doesn't matter. Action Bronson's a chef. He can make food or something. He can be lunch. Action Bronson's a lunch lady.
Yeah. And
it's not just an Action Bronson is just a dude being a lunch lady. He's actually just a lunch lady. He's Big Bertha.
Can we make this show?
We are. This is our future.
This would be a good idea, though.
Yeah, wouldn't it? It would be a great idea.
Cartoon Network, if you're listening, please bring back Class of 3000.
I think it's even relevant more today than it is.
I think so too.
Then.
I think so too.
Just think about that.
I think it just came at the wrong time.
It's just how strange is that? Andre 3000 had a kids show where he was a music teacher,
and it was awesome. That was my favorite show.
It was good, but it's I wish it was on today because I would actually appreciate it. I didn't appreciate it back then because I was I don't know who Andre 3000 is.
I appreciated it.
I like the show. I don't know. I feel like I just love it today.
He was going by Andre Benjamin then.
Yeah,
I thought that the show was set in the future because I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
I never knew Andre 3000's last name. It's not 3000.
It's not 3000. It's actually just 3000 spelled out.
Yeah.
Is there any other ways we can explore the second season of Class of 3000 before we hit the...
I just think that they should make it, and we should build off of this concept. If you're going to get an animation degree...
Make a boycott.
We can make this.
Andre 3000 was on, what is that show?
Sesame Street.
Not China, Illinois, but the guy who made China, Illinois.
Brad Neely's Scoplio...
whatever it's called. He was on that, and if he's on that, he can definitely come back to Cartoon Network and.
Well, I mean that's part of Adult Swim, so
yeah, it's possible. Anything's possible. It's 2017. We're getting a Deadpool.
We don't even. You don't even only have to have rappers either. You could have anybody that you wanted.
Okay, who else? Who else would be on the show?
Kevin James.
That was you had like an instinct for that one. Just like
Kevin James would probably not do well on that chamber. I think. Well, I don't know. Like somebody like, even like Alex Hirsch from Gravity Falls, or like Justin Roiland or somebody. Like everybody within that little like circle of media. You could even have. I bet a New Day would do it.
The New Day, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
I bet they would do it easily.
Megaran needs to be on it. And,
yeah.
John Cena needs to be on it.
Megaran could own a comic shop.
That'd be cool. These are all ideas.
It needs to happen. I think. Okay, so like the principal used to be like this Hispanic dude, and I'm like, the more I think of it, like I think Lin-Manuel could be the principal.
Again, we are creating the best TV show of all time.
Yes.
It's just that's like everything that was great about Class of 3000 in Lucas Brothers Moving Company. We combined together,
mashed together, and it's gonna be great.
Danny Brown plays a hobo that lives outside the school.
His instrument is the teeth gap.
No, oh, can we talk about that? We didn't get to talk about that.
Danny Brown got his teeth gap fixed.
Now, what are we gonna make jokes about Danny Brown now?
I think designers should be on Class of 3000.
I'm gonna say something really mean. I don't mean this more than a joke, but Danny Brown, or not Danny Brown, designer would be in the special needs program. He's like, I can play an instrument.
That's such a good show.
Welcome again to the Anthony and Todd Show. This is episode 10, and this week we have a special episode planned for you. We are going to rank the Run the Jewels albums from worst to best. And after that, Trevor has an in-depth analysis of that stupid DJ Jazzy Jeff album he brought up randomly last week.
Yeah.
That should be fun. And finally, to close off the show, we are going to be reviewing the latest album from Quelle Chris, Being You Is Great. I Wish I Can Be You More Often. An episode we are calling Being You is a Strong 6 to Light 7.
I'm ready.
You ready?
To be you.
To be me?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the first thing you're going to do when you be me?
Probably go to bed.
That's probably what I would do, too. So, Run the Jewels is a hip-hop duo made up of New Yorker producer rapper LP and Atlanta rapper Killer Mike. They came together in 2013 as Run the Jewels, officially as Run the Jewels. After being on one another's solos projects, LP produced Killer Mike's project. Killer Mike was featured on LP's project. But the weird history to this, I think, is actually kind of interesting. And to give like a better idea of the history, there's an interview with Jason DeMarco of Adult Swim on Mass Appeal. And he basically goes into this more depth. But apparently the scenario of this was after Danger Doom, which was the collaborative album between MF Doom and Danger Mouse, and all, it featured a lot of Adult Swim characters featured in the skits and in the tracks, and a lot of Adult Swim featured raps. And me and Trevor both have a soft spot for that album.
Great.
And we really enjoy that album, even though it is kind of dated with a lot of the Adult Swim references and everything.
Old Adult Swim will never die. Space Ghost and Aqua Teen Hunger Force and C-Lab 2021 and Harvey Birdman are amazing shows.
But this Danger Doom album, The Mouse and the Mask, not only was it a great record, but it's kind of started the lineage of what is the William Street Records brand. The Danger Doom album was released on another label, but after this, William Street Records started releasing music to not only their own shows, like their soundtracks, like they did the Venture Brothers soundtrack and I think the Metalopolis soundtrack, but they started getting into making more indie-based hip-hop rock music, starting with Killer Mike. Jason DeMarco and Killer Mike got together and they're talking about Killer Mike's plan for his new album, and Killer Mike really, really wanted instrumentals and beats that inspired him back to his youth of some of his inspirations, like Ice Cube. Jason DeMarco actually gave him a recommendation to check out LP, and LP and Jason DeMarco actually worked together because LP's old label, Definite Jux, I think that's how you pronounce it, was an indie label that worked with artists like Aesop Rock, and I think it was around for like 6 years or something like that. It was on for a little while before actually eventually shutting down. But Adult Swim, or William Street Records, and Definite Jux actually worked together for a time period, releasing music online, and that's how Jason DeMarco knew of LP. Now, after this, Killer Mike and LP had some studio time, and through constant nagging of LP, Killer Mike finally got him to produce his entire record, the entire rap music record, which is a record I feel like is probably Killer Mike's best solo project, for sure, hands down. After that, LP released Cancer for Cure, which it's okay, it has its moments, it has some really, really solid moments, has some really weak moments that I don't care for, but tracks like Full tracks like Tougher, Colder, Killer, really, really enjoyable moments on that album. And LP's production and his rhymes are both really, really solid, and Killer Mike's punchy, in-your-face rhymes. Killer Mike is one of the toughest and most versatile MCs out there. He can basically do anything. And it wasn't surprising, and after a year after Killer Mike released rap music, him and LP came back together to drop Run the Jewels 1 in 2013. An album which immediately received critical acclaim, and it kind of put both of them back on the map. Killer Mike was on the map before, LP was on the map before. They both had their spots, but it kind of brought them back together in the limelight a bit. This would be followed up a year later with Run the Jewels 2, then being followed up a year later after that with Meow the Jewels.
Superior album.
Meow the Jewels' best album, right here. Calling it. We're actually not going to rank that one. That one doesn't count. That's a charity album. It's a joke.
It's
not a real
still
album.
funny.
It has its funny moments, like Snoop Dogg's on the track, and it's really weird. Meow the Jews, of course, is Run the Jewels 2, but it's remixed with only cat noises, and it started out as a joke, but then they kind of turned it into a charity Kickstarter. If they reached their goal, all the money would go to charity, and they would make the Meow the Jewels album. They would spend time making it, which probably took a lot of time because you had to get like a lot of producers together to make these cat-based beats. And it was a really, really strange project. But a year after Meow the Jewels, we ended up receiving Run the Jewels 3 on Christmas. And today we're going to be talking about...
Merry Christmas.
Again, I say this again. More artists should release music on Christmas. It just makes it a special day.
It's great.
It's a fantastic event. I don't know. I hope we get some Christmas releases this year.
Me too. Saturation 3?
King Gizzard, probably. For sure.
I'm thinking Saturation
4.
Christmas album.
Oh, that'd be good. That's a good one.
Brockhampton's Christmas album.
Brockhampton presents Joma sings the Christmas hits.
Yes.
Actually, no, it's Marilyn Woods sings the Christmas hits. Yeah, but today we're going to be ranking the Run the Jewels albums. And which one is the best? Which one is the worst? Again, we're not counting Meow the Jewels. We're not counting Cancer for Cure. We're not counting rap music. Just Run the Jewels projects alone. No LP solo work. No Killer Mike solo work. Just Run the Jewels. Now,
there's only 3 options, people.
3 options. That's why we did it. It's easy discography. We can get through it in an entire day. And going through these albums, it was a nice listen. I haven't really listened to Run the Jewels 3 that much since it came out.
Yeah.
I haven't really listened to Run the Jewels 2 in like a long while. And Run the Jewels 1 I haven't given a listen in a long, long while. So it was a nice surprise or not nice surprise, but it was a nice moment to come back to these albums. Now, I'm kind of curious. We'll just say it up in front and center. Which one of these do you think is best?
3.
Okay. I think 3 is also the best. I think in this case, an argument can be made for 2 and 3. 1, it's not a bad album, but it really was preparation for 2, I feel like. It was the process of LP and Killer Mike, not only LP making production, but LP trying to rap and get together with Killer Mike. It's just flowing well together, becoming a duo more than just a producer and a rapper. So yeah, the first record kind of served as like a point for them to kind of get on terms with each other. I feel like Killer Mike, he's punchy, but he's not really that political in the first album. And LP, it's not, his verses aren't bad, but it's nothing, it doesn't hold a candle to what he did on Run the Jewels 2. I feel like he's trying to keep up with Killer Mike at certain times, and it doesn't really mesh that well. As well as the production isn't as fun as it was on, or as entertaining.
It's definitely not as entertaining
as it was
Run
on
the
rap
Jewels.
music.
I mean, Run the Jewels 1 is obviously them trying to get together and just make music, which I think there's something to be said about that, is that they just decided to get together and decided to try to make an album together. And whether or not it was critically acclaimed, I feel like they were still going to release it and, you know, just kind of dip their toes in the water and see how it went. And I think that Run the Jewels 1, while it is their weakest album, I think that it's still a good listen and it still deserves the praise that it got. And I have to applaud them for keeping on at their craft and perfecting it with the next couple records. I mean, there are obviously some very strong moments on here. I really like Banana Clipper. I really like Sea Legs. I really like No Come Down and Get It. I think those are both really strong tracks. Obviously, like, nothing as catchy or nothing as well produced as anything on 2 or 3, but I still think that Run the Jewels 1 is definitely worth your time.
It's a good listen. It's not as punchy in your face as, let's say, rap music 2 or 3, but I feel like it is a good listen. Let's just talk about like brief moments that we really enjoyed on this project and like kind of what we disliked. I feel like the opener, I love the opener for this, Run the Jewels. Just having your name be the opener to your album as its like introduction, I feel like is a really, really nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to Banana Clipper with Big Boy, probably one of their best songs, in my opinion, because I feel like a Big Boy, Killer Mike obviously flow together. They've worked together many times.
They, you know?
And they're both from Atlanta.
They both have similar styles. Yeah.
So it comes together, and even LP fits on that track, which I don't understand how that works, because
but it definitely does.
It like meshes. Everything comes together. Everything's perfect. Because I when first listen, I was like surprised how all these various like LPs kind of
you would expect LP
like,
to be a third wheel to Killer Mike and Big Boy, because I'm like 200% sure that Killer Mike listened to Big Boy growing up and listened to Outkast growing up, you know.
Well, he worked with Outkast.
Well, I'm sure that he like respected them highly as artists. I mean, like Atlanta rappers that came before him, that's got to be in your rep, you know, that's got to be in your repertoire. But he didn't end up as a third wheel. I think he held his own with these two guys, and they made a really, really solid track.
And this track is kind of, these three would later collaborate a couple years later, in 2017, this year, on the Baby Driver soundtrack featuring Danger Doom. Or not Danger Doom, Danger Mouse, sorry.
You see where it comes full circle.
Yeah, full circle. We're mentioning these names for a reason. Actually, no, I just completely forgot about that till now. But makes what we said earlier of some importance, so I guess we'll just go with it. I checked my Google Play music listens to see what's my most listened track on this album. It's Sea Legs.
I like Sea Legs a lot.
Yeah, Sea Legs, I don't know why. I feel like the reason it's my most listened, because probably it has the best LP verse on this album, in my opinion. And it starts with them, and not a lot of these tracks I feel like really start with them. It usually starts with Killer Mike. That runs pretty much through all these albums, that Killer Mike kind of starts off, and then it switches over to LP, and then switches over back to Killer Mike. But LP starts off this track, he has a great verse, hands it over to Mike has a great verse, and this track, I feel like it's the most similar sounding to Cancer for Cure as any of these tracks get.
I feel like,
which is not a bad
LP
thing.
really took over on this track.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned Get It. No Come Down. But like, what are some moments I really don't care for? Twin Back Hype is just a terrible closer.
Absolutely.
It's just like, it's like a weaker verse from Killer Mike, it's a weaker verse from LP. Nothing really interesting happens, and Prince Paul plays this character, I forget its name,
I don't
Chester
even remember.
Rockfield or something like that, Rockerfield.
Chester.
He plays this weird character who's date raping this girl, and it's strange, but I don't really know what it has to do with anything else. And technically, that is the closer to the album, because the last track, the 10th track, is a bonus track called A Christmas Miracle, which, in my humble opinion, probably the best Christmas bass rap song we ever have. I feel like the only thing that comes close to this is Christmas in Harlem by Kanye West, featuring like 9 other artists.
Yeah, I like that one.
Kanye West, Pusha T, the 97 LA Lakers, Yo Gotti, Pusha T again.
Yo Gotti's police escort.
But yeah, Christmas fucking Miracle. Everything just kind of coming together with the bells. And the music video for Christmas fucking Miracle is probably one of my favorite Run the Jewels music videos, because it is just so jokey, so tongue-in-cheek. It's just great. And it's really goofy, strange. Really enjoy it. That's probably my favorite music video that they've ever done, because it's just kind of a big joke. And I really enjoy it. So yeah, Run the Jewels isn't a bad album. It's a good album, but it's just weak in comparison to what the group would later go on to do on 2 and 3.
Definitely check it out for historic context, though, because transitioning into Run the Jewels 2's discussion, I listened to them back to back. Like this week, I pretty much took a refresher course in Run the Jewels, and I listened to all the albums back to back to back, and the transition from 1 to 2 is a night and day difference.
Yeah, I listened to this all in a row when I was drawing the logo for this week's episode. I listened to them back to back, and I feel like there's a difference between 1 and 2 for night and day, as you mentioned, but 2 and 3, it's a little there's a bit of a difference as well.
It's pretty subtle. I think in 2, going from Twin Hype back to Jeopardy was just production values skyrocketed. LP finally found his flow. Killer Mike found more like punchiness and just perfected his rapping. I think that everything was so in your face, so punchy. Run the Jewels 2 is definitely, it's got a better cover too, because they have Band-Aids now and it's red. But yeah, Run the Jewels 2 compared to 1 is like,
it's just like,
it's amazing, really, how far they came in such a short time. I mean, these guys must be really dedicated to their craft. From what I've seen and from what I've heard, absolutely dedicated to their craft.
And not only they made Run the Jewels in a year, and they made Run the Jewels a significantly better album than their first album in a year. It's like there's a level of dedication that you can respect from both Killer Mike and LP.
Absolutely.
On this project. 2 starts off with Mike saying, "I'm gonna bang this up," and I think that's great. And I feel like that is probably the best Run the Jewels intro, just because you just
got his confidence.
You just go into it and you're like, oh, going down as we speak. When we talk about 3 in its intro, I have a really different opinion about 3.
Yeah.
But 2, it's so punchy, and you get in and you're excited, and you go through the entire album, and I pretty much love a majority of these tracks. The only tracks I really don't vibe with is All Due Respect with Travis Barker of Blink-182 fame.
He also played in the Aquabats. Thank you.
Did he? When? Like,
or
is he just like a guest of the
No,
Aquabats?
the Aquabats used to have like 9 members. Really? I think he was
he a touring member or actual member?
He was an actual member. I'm pretty sure he was... What was his name?
Do some research.
I think it's Baron Von Tito.
That's a great name.
I'm almost positive. It might be Chainsaw, the Prince of Karate.
Oh yeah, he was part of Aquabats. He was on
he was Baron Von Tito.
Yeah, he was on...
I knew that.
He was on their 1997 album, The
Fury of the Aquabats, which is their best album. Don't tell anybody. Just kidding. Tell all your friends. The Fury of the Aquabats is the best Aquabats album.
We have a respect for the Aquabats here on the Anthony and Todd Show. More Trevor than I.
I'm a big fan of ska. I was happy to see. I was about to say that back to Run the Jewels. I guess I was about to say that I think that I really appreciated their non-rapping features on here. Zach De La Rocha of Rage Against the Machine, Travis Barker of Blink-182, and the Aquabats. And
Zach De La Rocha, Rage Against the Machine is rap, essentially. It's rock, but it's also rap. It's the same way Beastie Boys is rock and rap at the same time.
I still think, like, I wouldn't consider Zach De La Rocha to be a rapper. More of a slam poet. Anyway, I still think he did a good job. And Diane Coffey even on here, I think that worked. Also, best beat on here is the "Run that jewels fast, run that jewels fast." Run in.
Again, I love the intricacy of the beats on this album, especially "Close Your Eyes and Count to."
That's a good beat.
I just love how they sample Zach De La Rocha into the beat, and like the first time I listened to this, I didn't recognize. I was like, I don't know, in high school. I didn't recognize Zach De La Rocha by name, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy sounds like the guy from Rage the Machine. I'm like, I looked it up. Oh, it is the guy from Rage the Machine. And it's weird how it fits. Like you talk, it's strange.
We know Rage Against the Machine is actually a rap, you know?
No,
it's basically rap.
No, but it's strange how it... Like, Zach De La Rocha, I would consider him hip-hop, but it's strange how he meshes with Killer Mike. Because, like, it's the same way I thought it was strange that LP was able to, like, fit in so well with Big Boy and Killer Rap. Mike, it's just two different various styles of rap / rock or whatever that you don't really see a collaboration between. More of the trap and more of the indie hip-hop, independent hip-hop. But yeah, I really love the intricacy of the beats on this album. I feel like LP's production is more solid on this. The only thing, another major complaint I have is that Blockbuster Night Part 1 is a great track, but the only way you can listen to Blockbuster Part 2 if it's on iTunes or Apple Music, which I feel like I like that track way more because there's Wiki on it. I love his feature, but it's a shame that it's not on like any other streaming version of the album. It's only on the iTunes version, which I thought was kind of lame. But it's strange that the regular version of this album only has Blockbuster Night Part 1. And there's not a Blockbuster Night 2. It's just a strange occurrence.
It's a rare condition in this day and age.
So
that's a Family Matters theme song.
So my most listened track on this album, according to Google Music, is Early featuring Boots. I don't know. I that track's great. It's not my favorite track on the album for sure, but I think I really like that song. I listen to it a lot because I just love the hook. I love the hook fit in, but Boots on the hook fits in so well with LP's production, and Killer Mike's verse it tells like a great story. The story is fantastic. How he talks about police brutality and stuff like that. How he was being assaulted by the police, and I think the story he tells is really, really great. And I love LP's verse at the end, which isn't as great as Killer Mike's. He's not telling as good of a narrative, but I still think it's fantastic. Other than that, Angel Duster is probably my favorite track. That is what introduced me to Run the Jewels. I first discovered them on, I think, like the second week of Stephen Colbert being on The Late Show. He had a guest, and it was originally announced that it was going to be TV on the radio. And I just so happened to be watching the episode. And I was like, okay, I kind of know TV on the radio. I might stay to see them perform, because I was already watching the episode. And it ended up not being TV. Well, it was TV on the radio. They're their backing band for Run the Jewels, which was kind of surprising. And they performed Angel Duster, and it is probably it's probably my favorite Run the Jewels track, just because it was my first. It is so hard hitting, and it is just a great closer to the album. I feel like it encapsulates pretty much everything that the album stands for: the hard hittingness, the fact that LP is able to keep up with Killer Mike, the fact that Killer Mike is kind of unreleased on this track. He's just doing whatever the f he wants, and he's just punching everyone in the face with his rhymes.
With his fist.
With his fist and his words.
And the band-aids on his fist.
Yeah, don't forget those. The hand model for the Run the Jewels 2 album art is actually Killer Mike.
It is. Yeah. I looked it up.
That's
true.
That's an actual fact.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite track on this album?
I mean, I would probably have to go with Angel Duster, Just Like You, and Close Your Eyes.
Least favorite track on this album, All Due Respects. I like the beat, but I feel like it just goes a little too fast, and Killer Mike and LP, it just like, it's too fast for them. I'm not saying they're not keeping up, but I feel like it just doesn't, it's too loud, it's too out there, and it just doesn't fit as well as what I like. I do like the drum beat, I do like the instrumental, but I wish, and I kind of like the hook, but I feel like in comparison, the rest of the album's kind of weak because they're just not doing their full stick. I feel like they're not really able to keep up as well as they do on other tracks. So what is your least favorite track on this album?
I would have to say, Oh My Darling, Don't Cry. I just didn't like it. I don't know. Like I can't say anything else but that. I just didn't really like it.
So, in conclusion, Run the Jewels 2, obviously better than Run the Jewels 1.
It's a close contender for first, but not
close contender for
no
first.
cigar.
Going to our favorite Run the Jewels album, Run the Jewels 3.
Run the Jewels fast.
What I like about Run the Jewels 3 so much is it's not a huge difference between 2. I feel like 2 is a lot more punchier, but 3 has their best material on it.
It's like Saturation 2 compared to Saturation 1, where they're both really, really good, but just like Brockhampton, like Run the Jewels figured out their formula pretty early on and perfected it with 2 and just tweaked it even to like even more perfection on 3. Anything that possibly could have been wrong with 2, I think that they pretty much cleaned up.
Now, to start off 2, I feel like the first and probably one of the only mistakes this album makes is it starts off with Down, which as the track goes on, I see why it's the opener, because it is a great track. It's a fantastic track.
Yeah.
When I first listened to it, I didn't really care for it, but as time goes on, I always start with Down on the beginning of the album, and I'm always surprised at the end on how good it is, how it progresses, because it starts in Killer Mike's verse, and then the beat kind of like picks up, and you just kind of feel it, and Killer Mike's verse just like perfectly fits with the beat, like, and it's perfect. But I feel like Talk to Me would have made a stronger opener, because not only was Talk to Me the first single, part of the Adult Swim single program. Hey, run it back. But not only was it the first single, but I feel like it pretty much starts out the album. How talking about some of the problems that they have political wise, and at the same time being super punchy. While it may not be as good as Down, in my opinion, I feel like it would have been a better opener to start the album, especially since after Talk to Me you go to Legend Has It, which is probably their best song, probably, in my opinion, because it's like so effortless what they're doing on Legend Has It, and it's like they're not even putting effort, but they're somehow like fantastic, which I just don't get it, how they're able to do it. It's like they're not even like trying. Like you look at them doing that song on like the NPR like Tiny Desk Show, and they're putting in like the least amount of effort while giving like the best performance, and it's so strange how they're able
relaxed.
to do it. I think the best question to ask: what is it that makes Run the Jewels 3 the best album in your opinion? Anything?
I mean, like I said, like I think that they really just tweaked to perfection here. I really like Run the Jewels 2. But I think like Run the Jewels 3 just makes things even better. And I think it has even better features too. It's got Danny Brown, Kamasi Washington, Boots is back for a second time. And like Hey Kids, I think is... Well, I guess Hey Kids and Thursday in the Danger Room are 2 of my favorite tracks on the entire album. And I think that their like Kamasi Washington and Danny Brown, like I really appreciated the features on Run the Jewels 2, but I think that these guys just blow them out of the water.
And not to mention, Zach De La Rocha's back at the end of Kill Your Masters.
I suppose he is,
as a hidden feature, which I don't understand why he's hidden, but I think it was intended originally as a surprise.
They're buds.
I hope we're getting a Zach De La Rocha album sometime soon, solo work. And I think LP produced the single he dropped last year, the Dinging in the Windows, so I bet we're going to get some LP Zach De La Rocha material, which might be interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how that would be turned out. The single was all right. I didn't really care for it that much, but I'm interested to see how everything turns out with that front. I went through Google Play Music again, and my most listened song is Legend Has It, which is not really surprised. I love that song so much. Again, going back to how they're putting in so much effort while being effortless, and it's crazy and fantastic. I feel like the end of this album is the strongest that they have towards an end.
I think it's the strongest ending too. I think it's absolutely amazing. 6 minutes of pure bliss. I don't know. I think that the whole, and maybe this is going off topic, but the Kill Your Masters thing, I think about that line a lot. Like, just in my personal life. Like, if I want to be the best singer, I want to be the best, well, really anything, I have to be better than the people that I'm training under now. Like, I think I've integrated that kind of mantra into my everyday life. And no, I'm not like actually going to go murder somebody. I think that I like need to be better than those that taught me.
While Crown and Angel Duster flow so well together and Run the Jewels too, yeah. I think personally, in my opinion, Thursday in the Danger Room and A Report to Stockholder / Kill Your Masters, while it may not flow as well as those two tracks, I feel like they're so much better than those two combined. I personally love the ending of this album. I've been really listening to Thursday in the Danger Room a lot. I just love Kamasi Washington on the beat. Like, when that came out, I was surprised, like, because I was figuring out, how is this gonna work? This is just not gonna work. And
Kamasi Washington works with everything. Kamasi Washington played Claire de Lune. Do you know that song?
No.
It's like a classic Debussy. Dun, 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 dun. Definitely not a jazz piece. It's like a piano piece, and he played it on his saxophone, and it's amazing. And I'll shoot straight with you here. If A Report to the Shareholders and Kill Your Masters is the end of the Run the Jewels trilogy, like we've talked about and speculated a little bit, then I think I would be okay with that for a little while.
Well, we'll get to that at the end. As for tracks I didn't really care for, real fast, I really didn't care for Oh Mama, which it isn't a bad track, and Everyone Stay Calm. Those are the two ones I really don't care. And Panther Like a Panther, the only reason I don't like it is because the demo mix that they released a couple months after is so much better.
The Miracle mix. The Miracle Grow mix is not
as punchy.
As good.
The demo mix is, I think, what they used in the trailer for Gears of War, and it got me really excited, but they didn't use that version. I don't know. It's just a little bit more punchy, but I feel like the Miracle mix fits so much better into the sound that they were going for this album.
Yeah, I can't blame them for using the Miracle mix. The demo mix is better, in my opinion, but on the scheme of the album, I think I wouldn't have appreciated the demo mix as much as I do if I wouldn't have heard the Miracle mix in the context of the album. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but other than those three tracks, I think this album hits it so hard.
Also, the hands on the cover, best hands yet.
Best hands. Who is the hand model for this time?
What's his name? Gnarls Harley. CeeLo Green in his Oscar statue.
Yeah, his
costume.
Grammy outfit. The outfit he wore for the Grammys. I commend you on that joke, sir.
Thank you.
That was quality jokey. That's grammar right there. That was quality joke, Trev. Good job. But yeah, I think this is Run the Jewels' best album. It is just so much more fun. It's so much more precise, and they hit so much harder than they do on 2. It may not be as punchy, but I feel like their material is so much more stronger. I feel like they blend so much better on this album than they even did on 2, and they blended perfectly on 2. I feel like everything comes together. Not only do you get the super, super hype moments, but you're able to get some more. A lot of this album is some more of the lower moments, which I think is good. So it essentially combines 2 and 1 together to make 3, which is a
math.
Did I spook you? But yeah, Run the Jewels 3, not as late as mathematically proven that it's better than 1 and 2. But again, it is my personal favorite. It is what I think is the epitome of Run the Jewels. And I feel like a lot of people like 2 more than 3, and we're probably some outsiders on this, but again, we think 3 is fantastic. There's a reason why 3 was on it was number 1 on Trevor's mid-year list when we're talking about best albums 2017. It is a great album, and I'm glad I went back and listened to this record, because not only do I have a new appreciation for 3, I have a new appreciation for 2, I have a new appreciation for 1. They all have the things that makes them fantastic, and I'm glad we were able to
stuff you're
cover
not
this.
finding in other rap music, I think.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
Check it out if you haven't.
It is all these 3 albums are free on their website. You can get them for free.
Most likely, if you're a hip hop head, you've probably heard of Run the Jewels. You've probably done your homework and listened. But in the case that you haven't, check it out.
Okay. Tell me about this DJ Jazzy Jeff album.
Okay.
Okay, you gotta give me. Okay, so Trevor, what were we talking about last week?
I don't remember.
We were talking about like ASAP Mob no, we're talking about Open Mike Eagle. And
I was talking about the connection between Open Mike Eagle and all the other hip hop, like indie hip hop artists in the industry, I guess, right now. And I found out that Open Mike Eagle, he collabed with Homeboy Sandman, who we'll be talking about later with Quelle Chris. But he worked with Homeboy Sandman on an album or on a track. And they both worked with Quelle Chris, I believe. And I found out that
you basically went through a chain of events.
It was just a chain of events that I found out that one guy worked with another guy, and it led to this rapper named J Live, who I'll talk about here in just a little bit. But J Live, I found out, was on a DJ Jazzy Jeff album, and I was like, DJ Jazzy Jeff, like, I know him. The Fresh Prince and all that. So, like, I went to the album and I was looking at it, and, like, there were a ton of, like, just random features of, like, people that I knew and people that I, like, recognized, but they were from all over the place. They had J Live. You had, Sodnoose from De La Soul. You had Method Man, CL Smooth from Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Big Daddy Kane, Jean Grey, Rhymefest, and, of course, the elusive Biz Markie. The King. Absolutely. So, like, I told everybody on the show that I was just going to listen to it over the course of the week, and then I was going to get back with everybody.
Literally the next day, you sent me a text message, a screenshot of your phone of you listening to the first track on this album, and you sent me, and so it begins. So how was your journey?
Into the abyss.
How was your abyss journey?
Okay.
What's the album called?
It's called The Return of the Magnificent. It was released in 2007 by DJ Jazzy Jeff. It was a solo album. So I went to look for it on Spotify, and the artist page is still DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Like, he didn't even bother to get, like, the Fresh Prince off of that. Like, Macklemore has a separate Spotify page from Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. Doom has every single collaboration as a different name. But DJ Jazzy Jeff did not take the time to make a separate page and upload his solo work. He just kept it tacked on with Will Smith's name. Another side note. DJ Jazzy Jeff, I think, is like one of the least attractive DJ names ever. Like, you could just be called like Jazzy J or like DJ JJ or something. DJ Jazz, just Jazz. But he's like, no, I want to keep my first name Jeff in there. That'd be like DJ Jazzy Eugene or something. Like, what the heck? But anyway, I digress. I dove into the album. I'm going to talk about the high points and the low points.
Wait. Since this is a part of the quickie review segment that we do each week, you have to give it a 7-word review.
Okay.
Okay, what's your 7 words? You can take as much as time as you want.
Jeff delivers bland beats but interesting features.
That was actually pretty decent.
Okay, so DJ Jazzy Jeff, from what I gathered, used to be like the DJ Khaled of the hip-hop world. Essentially, because like you look at DJ Khaled and he just gets a bunch of people together to rap over his beats or perform, I guess otherwise just perform over his beats, and puts them all together on one album under his name.
And sometimes they're not even his beats, they're just other people's beats. He just puts people together.
I mean, he plays more the role of like an orchestrator. And I think that DJ Jazzy Jeff, well, he produced all the beats on this album. He produced all the songs on the album. He basically just got people together to like make these songs for him. Opening track, Hip Hop, with Twone Gabs, more on him in just a second. They basically just like sampled Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. They also sampled Miss Jackson's like Forever, Forever, Forever. Okay. That one's like okay. It was then I realized that the next track had pretty much the same beat, Let Me Hear You Clap, with Sodnoose. And I actually like that one better. I just think that the quality of the raps by Sodnoose were better than Twone Gabs. Pretty boring until you got to J Live with Practice. Now J Live, kind of interesting story, I guess. It's similar to Megaran's story. J Live used to be a teacher. And he was an English teacher, and he made an album called The Best Part, his debut album as like an indie rapper, and it took like 4 times to be it took 4 different attempts with different labels to be released. It just kept getting canceled and canceled by like the producers, and finally he got it released, and it was like one of the most critically acclaimed underground hip hop albums of all time, and I think it's really, really good. I think his lyrics and flow are just like amazing. But one thing that I can definitely tell from J Live is that Megaran most definitely takes inspiration from him, and I can see that so much. I can see bits of Megaran like shining through J Live's performance on Practice. Probably my favorite track on the album.
Are you saying Megaran was inspired by J Live, or J Live was inspired by
Megaran?
Okay.
Was inspired by J Live. I mean, you can see it in the background as a teacher. You can see it in his storytelling. You can see it in, sometimes he just completely goes off a beat and just talks. Like, it's funny. Method Man's feature on Hold It Down, short and sweet. CL Smooth on All I Know is really, really, well, smooth. Raheem Devon in My Soul Ain't For Sale, a really good like soul track. Also, it samples What You Won't Do For Love by Bobby Caldwell. Do that song. I guess you wonder where I've been. I search to find the love within. The classic. Brand New Funk 2K7 with Petey Petey is really, I mean, that's a really good closer. And I had to search really hard for the last bonus track with Biz Markie, and I'm pretty sure it had copyright issues because Biz Markie straight up sang Can't Buy Me Love by the Beatles right in the middle of the track.
That's not like the first time he's been over a Beatles beat. That like
no, it wasn't even a beat by the Beatles. It was, he just sang it.
You remember like
in the middle of nowhere.
When did this come out?
2007.
Like 9 years later, he was on the Avalanches and Noisy Eater, and that sampled the Beatles as well.
It did.
You think Biz Marquis' one rule is like, okay, I'll be on your album, but you gotta sample or use the Beatles in their entirety.
I mean, I wish that the bonus track was on like the Spotify version or the well-released version, because I had to like dig for this, and it was well worth it though, because I'm just a fan of Biz Markie himself. I think he's just funny to listen to.
One day we're gonna have to give out your theory about Biz Markie.
I will.
Your theory that he's actually related to Notorious B.I.G.
I think he is.
That's a story for a different day.
Weaker points on the album though. DJ Jazzy Jeff's production, it's all very similar. Maybe it's just an assumption, but I feel like old school beats like that are more, they're definitely more primitive. At least from the time that Jeff is coming from. But in 2007, that kind of work isn't really acceptable to me anymore. I mean, you look at like Outkast's entire discography before 2007 is 20 times more complicated than what he's putting out.
Look at like any hip-hop
really any hip hop albums.
DJ Shadow came out
production.
before 2007. Mad Villainy came out before 2007. Both.
Yeah, like Danger Doom was in the business. Madlib was in the business. Or Danger Mouse was in the business. I mean, you look at all the producers out then, but Jeff like needed to step it up. Super Jean with Jean Grey, that track was horrible. Jean Grey is not very good in my opinion. I don't like her. And my biggest beef with the whole album, besides like all the different, or lack of different beats, I should say, is Go See the Doctor 2K7 featuring Twone Gabs. It's 4 minutes of Twone Gabs talking about how, I guess, he had sex with some girl and got an STD and was talking about how his dick burned whenever he peed. So,
is
like,
he rapping or is he just talking?
No,
Please tell me you're making this up.
No. What's a shame is that this is the best, most unique beat on the entire album, and it was wasted on this song. That makes me very annoyed. But anyway,
fantastic.
I should I'm gonna pull up the lyrics and perform a little bit of it for you.
Oh, are you? Okay, I'm ready. Serenade me.
I think you're just gonna cringe. It's horrible.
I'm ready. Can you even read it?
I'm gonna find the chorus.
Oh yeah, it's like 7 minutes
Okay,
long.
so the whole intro is Twone Gabs on a telephone conversation talking to his doctor, telling his doctor about how his friend is burning and not him. So then he says, I got a secret, and tells the story. Okay, so here it is. It wasn't worth it to me. Now it hurts when I pee. When I pee, I'm burning up. Hey, this is the best part. Man, I hate my I feel like I shoot fire from my There's an instrumental here. I'm burning up. Alright, good. It's so hot. That's like actually what happens. Man, that girl was proper. Man, I had to pop her 3 days later, go see the doctor. This is so, like, this happened over and over and over again.
Best song 2017.
Go See the Doctor 2K7 is absolutely atrocious.
I like how we're discovering the song 10 years later, and it's even better now.
So, please listen to it, like, on your own time. It's so bad.
I don't think I want to.
So, looking at some old reviews of The Return of the Magnificent, it looks like XXL gave it an 8 out of 10. Like,
That makes me so happy.
Every major music publication gave it at least 4 stars out of 5.
That makes me so happy because that like totally proves that this year's freshman list was just a giant trash can because they think DJ Jazzy Jeff is a good artist.
Okay, DJ Jazzy Jeff is probably not a good artist, and he's not good at making beats besides Go See the Doctor. But I mean, like, some of the features on here kind of make up for the bad and more bland ones. Like I said, like Raheem Devon, I think really delivered a really good track on this album, and I think it still holds up in my opinion. J Live's Practice is definitely my favorite, as well as Biz Marquis. Like, as ridiculous as it was still super fun. There are some really fun, really creative features on here, but there are some really bad ones too. So, listener, beware. Like, you're gonna get some real stinkers if you listen to this album, but I still think that you should listen to it because there's some fun stuff.
Okay, so what's the
also,
one...
if you want to listen to Go See the Doctor.
What's the one word review that I'll have to put in the description?
One word review.
You mean like good, bad, meh, eh?
Can you just make it? It hurts when I pee.
Okay, I can't doubt that. I gotta stop clapping because it ruins the mic. But yeah, I'll make it that.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Trevor's quick review.
I think next week I'm going to do a quickie review on the importance of MC Hammers and Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em. I'll get back to you on that one too.
Okay, so the only other quickie review we're doing this week, or that I'm doing this week, I haven't had time to like deeply immerse myself in other albums. I've listened to a couple of them, but I haven't really formed strong opinions on any of them yet. Like, I've been listening to the new Always record, I've been listening to the new Knox Fortune album, listening to the Rhapsody album, but the only thing we're going to be reviewing, the only other quick review we're going to be doing today is the new Young Thug and Carnage EP, Young Martha. Young Thug is an Atlanta rapper, pretty much well known at this point for being one of the best and worst rappers right now. He comes through with performances sometimes that are just amazing. Like, listen to him on that Jamie XX track Good Times, and you'll see the appeal of why he can be really good and why there's a lot of potential to him. Listen to moments on his Jeffrey tape that he dropped last year.
Really good.
YSF Gene. There are great moments to Young Thug. There's his charismatic style, his nasally vocals, his screaming, I don't know, like raspy, his raspy vocals. There is potential with Young Thug. And I felt like Young Thug just kind of oversaturates himself and he drops too much. I felt like he dropped too many tapes last year. And so far, this year, he dropped Beautiful Thugger Girls, which is an album I skipped out on after hearing it was just not good. I didn't want to listen to it. I only usually listen to Young Thug albums if I have an interest going into it, or if I hear it's getting a positively reviewed. And I really didn't care for Beautiful Thugger Girls. I thought all the singles to it weren't that good. But Young Martha is a different story. Young Martha is, of course, a collaboration again of Young Thug, producer, DJ Carnage. The main reason I was interested in this EP is because a couple weeks ago, Young Thug and Carnage released a track called Homie. And by God, is it amazing. It is just, Young Thug just comes through with just so much passion.
He's
and
good when he tries to be.
He actually cares. It's like he put effort into it. It wasn't just like he was half-assing it like he normally does, as he did kind of on Moments on Jeffrey, as he did on most of his mixtapes in 2016. You feel like he actually was putting passion in what he's doing. Not only was he putting passion, he was really aggressive, and on the hook, he was coming through with these vocals that, like, I don't know how he's doing it. He was making his voice really, really deep, and he was coming through, like, how would you describe it? His vocals on that track. It's just, they're so strange.
If you could do a falsetto bass, which, like, I think it's harder than that. You know, it's more difficult to describe something like that. It's like making your voice deep just because, like, you can. Like, obviously, I don't talk like that. But when you bring it really forward, that's what he did.
Yeah, and it was also really, really forceful. And on this track, not only was Young Thug was joined by Meek Mill. And Meek Mill actually had a good
Meek Mill takes L's all the time.
He gave a decent performance. I don't think I would ever like a Meek Mill track in 2017. But damn, this track is amazing. It is so good, and it'll probably end up on my year list. Not only is the track amazing, the music video is fantastic. And I feel like it redeemed a lot of the music videos we've seen so far in 2017. But I love the music video. I love that track, and once I heard this was an EP, I was like, okay, maybe it's maybe a little short EP, but I feel like if it contains enough punchiness, enough excitement, enough enthusiasm, that'll be a fantastic EP. And it's about 15 minutes, and Homie is literally the only track that's like that, and the rest of the tracks are either Young Thug kind of doing what Young Thug kind of does. Not as bad as I feel like some of his other mixtapes, but And the opening track, Don't Call Me, is literally a dance track, and I hate it. It is just, this EP is just so disappointing because Homie is such a great track, and I was so hyped to hear what this duo was going to have together. And it's kind of just,
Give me a 7-word review. Homie is best, better than the rest. Thank you.
I guess that's the review. I don't have anything to top that, but this EP, It may not be the worst thing Young Thug has ever dropped. There is one decent, one great moment, two okay moments, and then just one terrible track. But give at least Homie a listen. Don't really. There's no really need to listen to anything else on this EP. But if you're a Young Thug fan, you'll probably already have given it a listen. But again, Homie, fantastic track. For sure, give that a listen. You won't regret it. It is a fantastic track. Young Thug comes through with so much enthusiasm. And Carnage's beat is fantastic, and I just love that track. And that sums it up for this week's edition of Quick Reviews. This week we didn't have that many things to review. Sorry. Next week we'll have the normal amount of reviews that we do each week. Oh, one thing we want to cover. I forgot. That was not it for the Quick Reviews. One quick thing we need to cover real quick. It's a review / news story that recently dropped today that I almost forgot about. So today it was announced that Adult Swim and MF were cutting ties, and the Missing Notebooks was canceled. There's going to be no more tracks released, and all the tracks that were released on Adult Swim's website are now gone. I really don't care about this that much because we reviewed this last week. We thought that they were just B-sides. There was no harm and no foul to them. Some of them were definitely better than others. Some of them were really not that great because they just seemed like unfinished tracks. But we really weren't complaining about them that much because there's nothing to complain about. They labeled them as B-sides, as unfinished tracks.
It was very clearly put out there that these were unfinished tracks.
Now, what I found what I think this is the reason they only dropped 8 of them is because, and this hasn't been confirmed, but this is just my assumption, and it makes sense. Last month, a rapper by the name of WestsideDOOM, who is a member of Shady Records, who I'm not really familiar with. I've heard his name tossed around a couple times before. I think he did a collaboration with Action Bronson at one point.
They sound the same, so yeah.
I'm not really familiar with him, but it was announced that he said he was working on an album with MF Doom, and I was like, yeah, you're working on an album with MF Doom. You're full of like
MF Doom doesn't work on anything.
Yeah, and then
he just eats.
And then we get like a teaser a couple weeks ago to this Grill and Monsoon track, like 30 seconds of it leaked. And today, the day that the Missing Notebooks was canceled and taken off Adult Swim, we get the entire track to Grill and Monsoon. It just pops up online. Thus proving probably Missing Notebooks served it's pretty much served as publicity stunt, and this is pretty much hype for WestsideDOOM, the collaboration between WestsideGun and MF Doom. So me and Trevor listened to this track like an hour ago. Beat's fine. I personally really enjoy the beat, and that's one thing I kept on mentioning when we were listening to the track is the beat's fantastic in my opinion. But MF Doom sounds like he's drunk and he just doesn't give a f***. It sounds like his verses off the Missing Notebooks, which weren't rephrase that. Sounds like his solo verses on the Missing Notebooks, not his verses with other people. His solo work on that project, where he just didn't give a f***, and he sounded so bored and like lonely, and he just didn't care, and it sounded like unfinished songs. But on this track, on Gorilla Monsoon, he clearly, and I don't know if he is, but to me, he just sounds drunk. He literally sounds like he's not even trying. And that kind of pissed me off. I feel like WestsideGun's part's okay. It's nothing I would really listen to in my free time.
I don't really like it.
I like the beat.
The beat was really good.
I feel like it's gonna be another. What's the last project he did? Nirvana Doom.
Yeah, I was saying earlier. I think that Doom's gonna take more of a producer backseat kind of role in this upcoming project. If it is an upcoming project, it might just be a track like what happened with Doomstarks. That was only 2 tracks. They were good for what it was worth.
Doomstarks was such a tease. Like, you tease it that much and we don't get it. Like, we have to get that at some point because that is just a fantastic...
I feel like it's still in the works.
Like,
I have not lost hope.
Ghostface Killah as Tony Starks and MF Doom, that's like a perfect combination. Like, you can't get much better than that. I feel like that would be perfect.
The only way you could get better of that is if MF Doom collabed with somebody like Madlib or like Danger Mouse or somebody. Like, that's the only way.
But like I was, so I'm interested in this project, but not in a good way.
I hope he takes a backseat role to this.
But if
not because like I just don't want him to fail. And maybe that's just like the fan in me talking, because like Doom is my favorite rapper, you know. I don't want him to fail in a project. I mean, coming off of, I probably listen to Mad Villainy and Food and The Mouse and the Mask probably like once a month, just because I love it so much. Sometimes a couple times a month, but like Neruvian Doom, where he took more of a producer role, was okay. And he rapped a little bit, and he appeared on some of the tracks, but it was just okay. He's a good producer, but I don't really like Bishop Nehru as, like, a rapper, I guess. It's definitely better than the Notebook tapes, and it's definitely better than WestsideDOOM, and it's better than
JJ Doom.
Yeah, JJ Doom, and some of the other things that have been released by Doom or working with Doom. All in all, I enjoy Neruvian Doom. I really hope he takes more of a producer role, just because I don't think that his heart is in it. I don't think that his heart is like working with Westside Gunn, and I think there are so many other better people he could be working with.
Or even at this point in his career, not even working at all. Because I feel like, I hate to say this line, you die as a hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
He is a villain.
Well,
that's the point.
You let your career die, or you live long enough to see you go into mediocrity. And if JJ Doom is a demonstration of anything, it could be pretty bad. And it's a shame that the best Doom project we've had in a while was...
Are you going to say Frankie Sinatra?
No. But the best Doom project we've had in a while was MF Dem. And Doom wasn't even really... Well, I think he gave clearance for Dem Atlas to do.
Well, you would have to, because
he wasn't involved whatsoever. Yeah. It was more of like Dem Atlas just taking Doom beats and rapping over them. It's a shame that that's been the best Doom project in a while. But I hope this is good. I really hope WestsideDOOM's good, but I don't think it will be.
Based on what I heard today, I feel like even if Doom takes a producer role from here on out, I hope it's, his beat was good. That beat was good. And we know that he can produce by himself. We've heard solo projects by him where he produces everything. He's got 10 volumes of herbs and spices of just things that he's produced. I know he can do it. I hope that's what if he's not gonna rap anymore because his heart's not like in it, let somebody else take that reign. Let somebody that is similar to him take that reign and be a producer.
I think my only request is that if he's taking a producer role primarily on this, he must sample the Doobie Brothers again.
Yes.
That's my only rule. So yeah, I'm interested. I don't think it's gonna be good. It's a shame that
I'm sure we'll review it at some point.
I'm not really looking forward to it as much. But I feel like it's kind of a shame. It's kind of let down. But you know what isn't a letdown?
Being you is great. I wish I could be you more often.
That was pretty good, actually.
Thanks.
Quelle Chris is a rapper that we both got into earlier this year after a bunch of people reviewed and were praising Being You is Great. I Wish I Could Be You More Often, his album that he dropped back in January of this year. I didn't really fully listen to it until about, I think, April.
It's a difficult listen.
It's a difficult listen first time. Second time and third time, it's way easier. I feel like the more you listen to it, the more easy. Like Buddies, especially the just opening track.
Jump back and kiss myself.
It's so rewarding, but it's so difficult to get into.
It's so dumb. Like it's so dumb.
But isn't it great?
It's so good though. It's just funny.
So Quelle Chris, I don't know if he's technically considered, but at least I consider him part of that art rap movement.
I
He's an
would,
art rapper
just
for sure.
given of what
Just
he
his style.
does. Yeah.
Quelle Chris, how would you describe him? Because I can't really describe his style. I was thinking earlier today, what's like the best way to describe?
It's absolutely ridiculous because you don't know if like it's just comedy rap and you don't know if it's like actual serious rap, and like, I mean, he's nowhere close to like Open Mike Eagle, but I think that might be like the best comparison.
I feel like, while Quelle Chris may not have like the best flow,
And That's Racist. I think he would fit in well with That's Racist.
Yeah, like comedy rap in general.
I mean, he's just a cross of like comedy rap and art rap, but he's like, I mean, I think he's a talented producer. I think like if he tries, he can make really, really good flows and like really good raps. I mean, you look at like Buddies, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I just don't even get it. But then like the next track right after Popeye, really good beat, really cool flow. Like he's on the off rhythm a lot, and that like, I mean, that takes talent to like rap on the off rhythm. And you hear a lot of people like mess it up. I heard Macklemore's track Marmalade today, like I was talking about earlier, and like there was a part where he just gets completely off beat because he was trying to rap off the beat, and it was so bad. It was just so
I just hate
so
when
off. But like he does it with ease. That I know my heart goes. He comes in at random points and measures. He comes in at random points during the beats. I just really think that if he tries, he can do really well.
Okay, so this album, it's a lot. I feel like it's a hard. I'm not gonna say it's a hard listen, but it's just hard to get into at times.
No, it's definitely a hard listen.
Just because
because of all the different technical aspects, I would say.
And it's just, there's so many, not only is there like a decent amount of producers on this album, Quelle Chris produces a lot, but there's also appearances from
Chris Keys, Ched Biscuits, Swarvy.
Alchemist, Mind Design.
Alchemist is on it.
Not only is there a lot of producers, there's a lot of features. This is a feature heavy project. Like a lot of people show up a couple times, like Cavalier shows up, Denmark Vesey, who else shows up a lot?
Jean Grey.
This is a harder listen. This album is about an hour and some change long. But I feel like the more I listen to this, more I love it. And there are some moments on this album I really just don't care for. Two of those examples being Learn to Love Hate and Don't Get Changed. I feel are two moments I just really, really don't care for. And they're towards the end of the album, but I do like this album. Okay, so let's talk about how it starts off. Starts off with like an MF Doom. How we mentioned MF Doom earlier, like food like intro. Where
it's just word splicing.
Yeah, where he just
to make him say, "Being you is great. I wish I could be you more often." Because nobody in the right mind would ever say that without word splicing.
Yeah. Which I love that. That also pops up towards the end where
it pops up quite a few times.
Yeah.
At the end of Popeye, at the end of Dumb for Brains, I think.
An encore.
Yeah.
Which is it gives an album like that has so many elements to it, a sense of unity, which I feel like is something that Open Mike Eagle's last album, it need a little bit more unity to it, besides theme wise, and there was a couple of things.
Yeah.
And even like we talked about this last week as well, Ariel Pink's album for sure. Like there's albums that need unity, and I feel like this album was so different, and there's so many different styles and so many different producers that the word splicing and other themes give it a sense of unity. I feel like since there are so many features on this, which is a downside and a good side, since a lot of these features do repeats, it even gives it more sense of unity, which I think is
it feels
great.
like a big cast of characters that like rotates in and out. I feel like Quelle Chris like knew that his album would be a hard listen and knew that he would have to call people back to that golden thread, if you will, like throughout the album.
So, starts off the intro, goes into Buddies, which is essentially a strange track about Quelle Chris calling himself the best friend. Just give it a listen. It was on my
Jump back and kiss myself.
It was on my mid-year list for one of the best songs of the year. I have gone on to change my opinion. The best song from this project is Popeye.
Oh, yes.
The beat from Mind Design slowly, every time his solo work I'm kind of on, but anytime he pops up somewhere else, I feel like it's fantastic. He did a track like a year or two ago with C'est La Sue. It's amazing. It was like a remix, and if you listen to the song, the unremixed version, the Mind Design remix version, they're like two separate tracks. Like Mind Design took a bad track and made it fantastic with his instrumentation and his producing. Mind Design is an incredible producer when he just pops up in these random segments, and I really enjoy his producing. Again, his solo work is kind of but like anytime he pops up in someone else's project, I'm like amazed by his production. And Popeye, the instrumental to it, fantastic. And I feel like the instrumental alone should go on both of our mid-year lists because
I sing it all the time.
End-year list. Just for the instrumentation.
Just instrumentation alone makes it really enjoyable.
And then Quelle Chris's verses on top of that is fantastic.
I really like them. They're pretty insightful. And he's constantly calling back to the Popeye always kicking the can but never eats the spinach. Just his way of... It's hard to describe rhyme scheme. It always begins with that Popeye kicking the can but never eats the spinach. Always reach the goal but never reach the finish. I know my heart go. Raps an entire line. Ends with the rhyme of itch. Always reach the goal but never reach the finish. Popeye kicking the can but never eats the spinach. I know my heart go.
And then that leads into In Case I Lose Myself, which is another fantastic track from this album. It's just like, I think I brought this up a couple times this year. I think the example that first comes to my mind of strong starts this year, in my personal opinion, Father John Misty, I feel like had a fantastic... I know you're grinning, or you're...
I'm rolling my eyes so far back in my head.
I in my opinion, it has a really, really strong start to the album. I feel like this album also has a really, really strong start, probably for one of the best of the year. I think we should make that a mid-year, or like an end-year award. Strongest start to an album.
It should also be a strongest finish. Popeye kicking the can but never eats the spinach.
But yeah, In Case I Lose Myself in a Crowd is kind of, I want to call it like a posse rap. I guess there's enough
like
people.
4 people on it, but still.
4 people is classified as posse rap.
I would almost call it more insightful than a posse rap song.
Yeah. It's just like, I feel like that song, everyone just comes together perfectly. And like, there's no bad feature on it. I just love that track. I love the instrumentation. I love just everything about that track. And let's talk about some other moments that I really enjoy on this project. I love birthdays. I just love it. The production and just his weird flow. It's just like, how would you describe his flow on the track? It's just like, it's rhythmic the same way
it's very cadential in the way that Andre 3000 is very cadential, you know.
And would you consider it like really similar to the way Popeye is in a sense?
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I would describe Popeye, I wish you could see like the way that it's, if I could write out the lyrics, I wish you could see the rhyme scheme, because that's something that interests me so much, is the way that rhymes fall together, like inner rhymes, outer rhymes. And I feel like Popeye is almost like a U shape, starting with the Popeye kicking the can, whatever. Goes down in a U and comes back up with a reversal of all the lyrics from before, and ends with the Popeye line again. I think that's like a very creative way to do it. I think that going back to Doom, that's that on Born Like This, just it's like falling down the stairs and then going back up to the top of the stairs and falling down again. Like the way that he delivers his flows, the way that it's almost like a rushing river of rhymes. And I think that Quelle Chris has mastered the shaping of rhymes that few rappers can.
While his like speed and I feel like maybe wittiness is not as strong as say someone like Open Mike Eagle. I feel like his flow may not in the way you typically think of flow as someone super fast, super out there, super punchy. I feel like Quelle Chris is a different type of flow, more most slow, more somber, more
Very thought out.
thought out. Not as well in the lyrics, but as the choice of the rhyme schemes of the lyrics.
Yes. That's what gets me going.
Dumb for Brains is another great moment. I love how it starts off with a bunch of reverb and it slowly turns into like the actual track.
It's really Dumb for Brains is really weird.
It's just like he says I got dumb for brains for like 4 minutes.
Pretty much.
But it's just so fun. It's so quirky. It's so out there that I can't help but like enjoy it.
Calm Before I'd have to cite as another way of shaping the rhyme. And even the Prestige, I would have to say, like, Jean Grey had... Well, I mean, she definitely has a better verse than on the DJ Jazzy Jeff album. She doesn't come up... The way I've always heard Jean Grey is somebody that describes herself, talks about herself all the time. She took an entire track on Jazzy Jeff's album and made it about herself. It's literally called Super Jean. But, like, in here, she just seemed like an outside force, like an outside voice talking to Quelle Chris. That rolling into... probably my second favorite album on the track after this like
Second favorite album on the track?
Second favorite track on the album after this like mob boss interlude where he's talking. He's like, "Oh, Chris, it's great. Q, you should have been there. There was a leaf blower." And this Barry sax comes out of nowhere. I feel like again, back to Doom on Mad Villainy. I feel like it's that transition from Bistro, where Doom's obviously standing up like, do testing, please. We got King Ghidorah on the mix, Victor Vaughn, and your host, Supervillain. And then you just go into Raid. It sounds like I'm in a club. It sounds like I'm in a bistro that turned into a nightclub, like an old jazzy nightclub. The mob boss interlude to go into The Dreamer in the Den of Wolves was absolutely stunning, and that took me by so much surprise. I really, really enjoy this track. I think Quelle Chris really delivers, but I think that the way that he uses his voice and the timbre of his voice, you had guys coming in that sounded like the Barry sax on the bottom. You had guys coming in that sounded like a flute on top of everything. The way that he used the pitch of his voice without actually singing, I think was outstanding in this track.
The Dreamer in the Den of the Woods, that ends with like, "You don't even know me," right? I think so. That was that track, right? I'm not confusing with something. Yeah, I like that. I like that little end moment on that track. I felt like it was.
And then it goes back to the mob boss.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like probably it's not the best track on here, but it is my favorite moment by far. The end of "It's Great to Be," which is the last track before the encore
dip,
the encore section, which essentially, I don't know if they're considered bonus tracks or is they're considered just extra, that kind of an encore.
I would almost consider it to be, because like it's encore. I would say that, like, I feel like there's a severe dip in quality from like encore and Don't Get Changed. I did like Pendulum Swing though, and I like Homeboy Sandman a lot, so I think that was cool seeing them together. This is also what started the chain for DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Okay, so I already kind of mentioned this, but what's so great about "It's Great to Be" is that it, at the end, it highlights a bunch of the like parts of the other album. So he says, "I f*** with myself, I f*** with myself," and then he references a lyric off Popeye. He references "In Case I Lost Myself in the Crowd." What else does he reference? "Dumb for Brains," and I don't know what else. I don't think there's really anything else, but he references earlier parts of the album. Again, going back to Unity, which is a thing I personally love. Because albums should be related to each other. They're not.
Their whole works.
Yeah.
Albums are like movies.
And not only is Chris Keys great as a producer in that track, just everything comes together so beautifully. And then that going into encore, which is very similar to the intro, where basically it's word splicing again, which again I kind of said it was kind of similar to Food, MF Doom, but it basically they say the word splicing says, "Thank you for listening. We're gonna do a couple more tracks." Essentially the encore, bonus tracks, or you could technically count them as the real album, but I really don't feel like they are part of a real album. "Don't Get Changed" is very similar to an earlier track, "Fascinating Grass," which is a track I didn't
like Fascinating Grass.
It's essentially Fascinating Grass Part 2, Which what was wrong about Fascinating Grass is there's just really nothing to it.
There's really not. I thought it was just boring and kind of droned on for a while.
That's what I
would consider that probably the weakest moment in the main album, not including the encore section.
And then Don't Get Changed is just Fascinating Grass Part 2, and there's nothing really interesting to it. Kind of just goes on for the two like the 3 minutes it's there. Nothing really happens. Then Penguin Slim, which is supposed to be the show closer in a sense. I love the beat from Alchemist. I really don't care for Homeboy Sandman on this track that much. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't think he's like terrible or anything. I just feel like the encore, or at least that section, the end part should be Quelle Chris. And it shouldn't really end on a Homeboy Sandman. But I don't think the track's bad. I love the production again. I love Quelle Chris's part. Really don't care for Homeboy Sandman's part. But I think that wraps up. I think we pretty much talked about all that we really have to say about this album. Besides it being kind of hard to listen to, kind of hard to get into, moments like Fascinating Grass, Learn to Love Hate, and Don't Get Changed, which nothing really happens, and I feel like Quelle Chris's eccentric style isn't really able to shine through, and they just kind of seem kind of boring, and there's nothing really there to be of interest. It's like almost you're listening to just some generic rapper without any original style. Other than that, I really enjoy this record. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. And it's not just because I listen to it repeatedly. It's just because I feel like every time there's more to discover. Because it is a hard album to listen to, because there's so much going on. With each listen, you're able to dissect more and more about the album, what makes it great, what makes it good.
I think that once you make it over that hump of the weirdness of Buddies and then the kind of blandness of Fascinating Grass, things just kind of fall into place. And yeah, it is difficult to listen to at times. It's difficult to kind of sort out what's going on. It's difficult to make it through some of the weird off-rhythm sections. It's difficult to make it through some of the weird beats and strange features and whatever else is going on. And the mob boss may stop you halfway along the way. But I think once you get to the end, especially at the end of It's Great to Be, then you're
sold.
I mean, I think you've been in for a treat. Yeah, I think you'll come to appreciate it as you listen to it again, or even just dwell on what you've listened to.
What do you think overall?
I'd probably give it an 8.5.
Overall, I personally think it's an 8.7. I really enjoy moments like Popeye and Buddies, and It's Great to Be are so fantastic. And even though there are some weaker moments on this album that where Quelle Chris's personality isn't able to shine through, they're totally outshined by those other tracks that are fantastic. By the eccentric moments, by the great ending, by Encore, which is just this great wrap up to an album, even though there's moments even though there's more to this album afterwards, and essentially they are bonus tracks. But I feel like this album is great. I love this album. I think Quelle Chris, I'm really interested to see where he goes from this, because I feel like this is kind of like a big deal for him, project wise, and I'm really excited for the future of him. And I think I said this last week, I'm excited for the future of art rap and indie hip hop, and I'm excited to hear more music like this. And that's it.
That's that.
So next week, what's next week's plans? I know we haven't really been giving you guys solid plans. For sure,
we're heading to the hospital.
Brockhampton has annexed injury reserve.
Oh no.
My plans have come true now. We're going to be doing the new Injury Reserve EP, Drive It Like It's Stolen. That should be fun. I'm really excited for that.
Me too. Oh yeah.
And then, I don't know what we're going to do after that. There's a new Igloo Ghost album that's coming out. There's a new Kamasi Washington album that's coming out. We may do one of those or both of those or whatever. I'm really excited for both of those projects, so that's probably in the near future. We're definitely doing Injury Reserve from next week. What else we might do is kind of up in the air, but I'm really excited for the Injury Reserve EP. It should be a good episode next week. But until next time, make sure you like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, Google Play Music, and iTunes. If you want to submit a question for next week's episode, there's a link in the description. And if you like our theme song, it's produced by our huge friend, DJ Quest. Our intro song's called No Sleep, and our outro song's called Reply. There's links to the songs in the description. And go on SoundCloud, message them. like SoundCloud's closed, right? The 50 days ended like 2 years
ago. Send him a letter, like an actual letter
to WSU 1069. Look up that radio station.
You can look up the website, and you can send him a letter that said, "Yo, I heard your SoundCloud was down, but I wanted to tell you how good your tracks were."
Yeah, you're a big friend.
You are a big friend to Trevor Vincent, and any big friend of yours is a big friend of mine.
Love
your name there, and make sure you sign it.
And that has been it for this week's episode of the Anthony and Todd Show. This has been episode 10. Being you is a strong 6 to a light 7. And do we have a musical outro this week? Do you want to do one? I'm not going to force you. You sang the entirety of whatever that track was earlier, the 10-minute song.
You sang it with me.
No, I meant the song about the guy's dingus that was on fire.
Oh, yeah. It's so hot. Is
that the outro?
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to end it on that. Thanks for listening. Until next time, guys. See ya.
Bye.